there is a silence in the soul of the modern man, not the noble silence of peace, but the hollow quiet of starvation. A man can scroll through oceans of content, walk into rooms, perform, achieve, and still feel unseen, unchosen, unwanted. And in that silence, one desperate question emerges. What must I do for her to notice me? This is not new, but today it's industrialized. Female validation has become the invisible currency of the male psyche. Every gesture, from the gym selfie to the TikTok dance, the luxury purchase to the witty reply, is for many men a sacrifice laid at the altar of the feminine gaze. The tragedy? He does not even see the bars of the cage, because the cage rewards him with temporary pleasure. Dopamine, drip-fed through double taps. Attention, mistaken for affection. Desire, confused with devotion. This is the spell, and no philosopher saw it more clearly, or dared to say it more ruthlessly, than Arthur Schopenhauer. Women are by nature meant to serve the species, not the individual. Harsh? Yes. Misogynistic? Only if you misunderstand him. Schopenhauer wasn't attacking women. He was exposing the will that governs both sexes, the blind biological force that uses men's desire against them. In his view, romance was not sacred. It was survival, camouflaged in poetry. The man thinks he is choosing love, but he is being chosen by evolution to serve reproduction. In that light, the need for female validation becomes not just emotional, but existential. He believes her approval gives him value, when in truth, it only gives him distraction. So here you are, a soul trained to find identity in her eyes. A man who builds his sense of self around how he is seen, rather than how he sees. This is not love. This is possession, not by her, but by the spell of needing her to see you. Until you break it, nothing you build is yours. You never loved her. Not really. What you loved was the feeling she stirred in you, the light she seemed to cast over your darkness, the music she made out of your silence. But she didn't give you that light. You projected it onto her. This is the first cruel truth. You fell in love with a mask you made yourself. Carl Jung called it the anima, the inner feminine within a man's psyche. And when that inner image goes unrecognized, it spills out, painting a woman in divine colors she never chose to wear. She becomes the goddess, the healer, the muse. But the moment you give her that power, you blind yourself. Every man takes the limits of his own field of vision for the limits of the world. Schopenhauer. So you loved not the woman, but the mirror she held up to your longing. You wrote her into a myth, gave her wings, and when she walked away, as mortals do, you cursed her for not being the angel you imagined. This is projection. You saw your salvation in her smile. You made her the gatekeeper to your self-worth. You became a beggar in your own kingdom, asking her reflection to tell you who you are. And the pain that followed? That wasn't heartbreak. That was withdrawal from the illusion you wove around her. In myth, the sculptor Pygmalion carved the perfect woman and fell in love with his statue. In reality, you carved her image in your mind and worshipped her from your need, not from your knowing. But no woman can carry that weight. She's not your goddess. She's not your therapist. She's not your mother. She is who she is. It's you who made her more. Until you stop projecting the goddess, you'll keep suffering the ghost. The moment always comes. The silence, the unread message, the cold tone, the shift you can't explain. She's not cruel. She's just gone. And suddenly, the mirror shatters. You're left, standing in the ruins of what you thought was love. But what truly breaks isn't the relationship. It's your reflection inside it. This is the collapse. Not because she betrayed you, but because you betrayed yourself by building your identity in her response. A man can do what he wants, but not want what he wants. Schopenhauer. You wanted her attention, her praise, her devotion, but you never asked why. You mistook her yes for your worth, her gaze for your grounding, her validation for your value. And when it vanished, the inner critic you've silenced for years awoke. You weren't good enough. You were too much or not enough. She saw the real you. That's why she left. But let me tell you the darker truth. She didn't leave because she saw the real you. She left because you never saw yourself. You became a character, a curated self built to please. You laughed when you didn't feel joy. You agreed when you doubted. You abandoned your edge to remain acceptable. And when the act grew stale, she walked, not from you, but from the illusion you performed. This is what Freud called the narcissistic wound. Not vanity wounded, but the collapse of the imagined self. The persona dies. And what remains? Silence, pain, and, if you're brave, truth. Remember the words from Fight Club. We're a generation of men raised by women. I'm wondering if another woman is really the answer we need. She wasn't the villain. She was the mirror. And when you cracked, it was only because you saw what you were hiding from all along. Now you must decide. Will you rebuild the same mask, or finally meet the man underneath? You didn't invent your desire for her praise. It was programmed. From the moment you opened your eyes to the world, there were scripts, invisible lines written for you by mothers, teachers, films, fairy tales. They whispered, "Be good and you will be loved. Protect her and she will stay. Make her smile and you'll be enough." This was your initiation into a lie dressed in romance, a myth sold as meaning, a reward system that trained you to perform, not to be. From the boy praised for being such a gentleman, to the young man taught that sensitivity equals virtue, to the adult male now chasing approval through obedience, the message was clear. Her validation is your proof of value. Man is the only animal who causes pain to others with no other purpose than to feel his own power. Schopenhauer. And though Schopenhauer was talking about cruelty, the same applies to emotional systems. Society taught men to perform for power, but only if that performance pleased women. You learned to shine under her gaze, to act noble, to be charming, to be safe. But the real you, the one who questioned, who resisted, who sought truth over comfort, He was exiled. And all the while, culture bombarded you with myths. The Disney knight who earns the princess through devotion. The rom-com hero who wins her heart by being emotionally available. The nice guy who patiently waits and is finally chosen. These aren't stories. They're traps, carefully constructed illusions that keep men dependent on external confirmation. Plato spoke of the cave, where prisoners mistake shadows on the wall for truth. This is your cave. The shadow isn't her. It's the idea of her, projected onto every screen, every stage, every relationship. Until you turn around and walk toward the light, toward truth, you'll keep dancing for a reward that was never real. She cannot free you from this. Only you can break the spell of the childhood scripts and see that your value was never hers to give. Once, men ruled from within, not from ego, but from essence. Not to dominate, but to discern. But that age has faded, and in its place stands a new breed of king, softened, silenced, and severed from his own soul. Today's man is not weak by nature. He is weakened by design. He is told that his strength is a threat. His authority is oppressive. His clarity is arrogance. His discipline is toxic. And so, he trades the sword for softness. He lowers his standards to seem nice. He abandons his principles for peace. He lets himself be ruled, not by a tyrant, but by the fear of being unloved. This is not kindness. This is self-erasure. Women are directly connected with the propagation of the human race. Hence, the will to live is strongest in them, and they are the most cunning instruments of that will. Schopenhauer. To the German philosopher, this was not slander. It was anatomy. He believed that female will, unfiltered, was the raw, reproductive force of nature. And when men surrender their sovereignty to that force, they are no longer men. They are vessels. The masculine fall is not about what women have taken. It's about what men have given up in the name of being chosen. The ancient myth of Narcissus returns. A man so entranced by his reflection that he drowns in it. Today's reflection is not water. It is her gaze. He wants to be desired, wants to be praised, wants to be seen as enough. But in the pursuit of being seen, he forgets to see himself. He becomes predictable, controllable, empty. He stops speaking truth. He stops setting boundaries. He stops being dangerous and therefore stops being respected. This is the soft king, crowned by likes, deposed by silence, trapped in the illusion that to be loved, he must disappear. But a king who must vanish to be worthy was never ruling at all. There comes a moment when the mirror breaks, and instead of grief, you feel something strange. Relief. Because in the shards, you finally see yourself, not as the performer, not as the pleaser, but as the origin. This is the path out. Not revenge, not withdrawal, but sovereignty, the reclamation of your own will. Now you must will differently. No longer from hunger, no longer from need, but from truth. You must stop negotiating your worth. Let them call you cold. Clarity often feels like cruelty to those addicted to confusion. Let them say you've changed. You were never meant to stay in the role they cast for you. This is the death of the false self. And in its place, something wild and noble begins to rise. Nietzsche called it the will to power not over others, but over illusion. It is the inner fire that says, I do not chase, I do not beg, I do not bend to be seen, I see, and in my seeing, I choose. Sovereignty isn't loud, it's precise, measured. It sets standards, not traps. A sovereign man doesn't resent women. He no longer needs them to complete him. He can love deeply, fiercely, but from freedom, not need. He can walk away, not from bitterness, but because he knows the cost of staying misaligned. He builds, not to impress, but to fulfill. He speaks, not to be liked, but to be clear. This is the path Schopenhauer hinted at, even if he never walked it. To see through the veil of illusion and act with eyes wide open. And once your soul tastes that freedom, no validation can tempt you back into the cage. When a man stops living to be seen, he begins to live to be true. This is the new masculine, not a performance, not a posture, but a presence, sharp, rooted, and unshakable. He no longer asks, will she choose me? Instead, he asks, is this aligned with who I truly am? That single shift collapses centuries of programming. He is no longer a beggar of attention, but a keeper of inner fire. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus. The new masculine is not reactive, he is reflective. He knows that validation gained can be validation lost. So he does not anchor his worth in the tides of approval. He studies himself. He sets standards, not traps. He allows intimacy, but never at the cost of his sovereignty. He walks like a myth resurrected, with the clarity of Marcus Aurelius, the discernment of Odysseus, and the creative fire of Prometheus, unchained. He has tasted illusion, and now hungers only for what is real. There's a scene in the Odyssey that few understand. Odysseus is offered immortality and divine pleasure by the goddess Calypso, but he declines, not out of pride, but because he knows a man is not defined by how desired he is, but by what he's willing to walk away from. So he leaves the comfort of the goddess and chooses the peril of truth. This is the new masculine. He can love a woman without worshiping her. He can desire deeply, but not degrade himself in the pursuit. He sees women clearly, no longer as mirrors, but as fellow travelers. And because he is whole, he cannot be seduced by what is false. He walks not to be seen, but because he knows where he's going. So here you are, on the other side of the mirror, staring not at her reflection, but at your own. And for the first time, it's enough, because now you see the truth. You weren't chasing love. You were chasing the feeling of being chosen. You thought her gaze would heal you, but it only fed the illusion. The need to be validated by her wasn't romantic. It was spiritual enslavement disguised as desire. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Schopenhauer. Solitude is not your curse. It is your proving ground. When the world goes quiet, the real man begins to speak. This isn't bitterness. This isn't withdrawal. This is awakening. You're not the villain. You're not the victim. You're the one who broke the spell. No more chasing mirrors. No more building your identity in someone else's gaze. From this point on, you choose who sees you. You decide what is worthy of your energy. You live from a truth that no validation can grant and none can take away. So here's your final conviction. She was never the prize. You were. You weren't born to be chosen. You were born to choose. This isn't content. This is a digital rite of passage. Now share it. Because another man out there is still sleepwalking through the dream of her approval. And your courage might be his wake-up call. Like, share, subscribe. Don't scroll past this. Walk as if you see. Because now you do.